Yes, Black Americans are the blueprint of Black people, honey. Get it together.
And this is why when people say you look American, it could never be a compliment.
This Black Brit versus Black American thing is actually getting on my nerves. What is it achieving?
It's coming down to jealousy. The difference between Black British people and Black Americans is that Black British people have an immigrant story. They have an immigrant background.
I just need to know where this deep-rooted hatred and aggression for Black British people, where did that come from?
What's going on, people? Today we're talking about one of the biggest issues that I see in the Black community. We're talking about European Americans or European Blacks versus American Blacks, and they have an issue and a fight that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, and that's what I want to discuss today. But first of all, though, if you're new here, my name is Dixon Zor. I talk about random things on the internet that interest me, and I think you might be interested in it. All right, so this discourse about European Blacks versus American Blacks is a huge problem that I see a lot of people talk about on the internet. First of all, it stems from this divide between the Black American identity and the European American identity. The Black American identity was very much shaped by Jim Crow. Most Black Americans are descendants of enslaved Africans and have deep generational roots in the US and often lack identities or direct ties to their African cultures. Now, on the other side, you have the European Black identity, right? This is more often shaped by the immigration from Africa or the Caribbean in the 20th century. Many European Blacks still have strong cultural ties to the ancestral countries, language, and customs of which they're from. This is your Nigerian, your Liberian, all these people that go to Europe still keep that bond with their African culture and heritage. African Americans don't have that. So what do? Instead of trying to understand each other, guys, they start to put up a fight on the internet. That is the most poetic thing that can come from the Black community. Like, that is my biggest issue with this whole atmosphere of using your Blackness as a reason to separate yourself or get put into boxes. It's so dumb.
Being Black in the UK is different than being Black in America. I brought this subject up yesterday when I made the video about James and Fuhad, and I think I was misconstrued, and you believe that I said that there was no racism in the UK. That's not what I meant at all. As connected as we've become online, especially in the past 5 years, I think TikTok has brought us together on specific hot topics, things that are occurring in the world. And I think that we apply our own experiences with being Black, with experiencing racism to certain things without having historical context and without understanding the nuance of what that means for each of us around the world.
I'm just going to add a quick point to that. I find it a little disturbing that to speak on everything nowadays, people feel as though you have to be an expert, let me say the word right, on everything. You have to know everything to have an opinion about it. I don't know if I'm wrong on that. I just think that's weird to kind of put people in this situation where they have to be expert in order to share their thoughts. I don't think we're ever going to go anywhere. We're not going to be free if people have to barricade themselves from understanding experience, from being a part of discussions. I just think that's kind of stupid, man. I want to hear everybody's perspective about this topic, and if they're uneducated, they will get to know. They won't keep it in and somehow figure out that they don't know a situation.
It behooves us to understand that while we're all Black, every single one of our Black experiences are different around the world. And I think that Americans lack that context when it comes to the UK. The UK especially lacks that context when it comes to America. But I think the difference is in the UK, you guys consume so much American media, music, movie, film, that you feel like you have a grasp on what happens here when you don't really know what happens.
I'm going to stop pausing a lot, but he says in the UK, a lot of people have consume a lot more American media than we in the US right now consume of theirs, right? So it's pretty reliable to say that those people in the UK probably know more about our culture than we do theirs. So they might have the ability to speak on it a lot more, because even as Americans that are black in the US, right? How do you relate more to your culture? How do you understand and learn about your culture? Is through media. And if people across from you, just say an ocean away from you, are consuming the same media that you're consuming, you can say that your experiences are probably, especially when it comes to cultural references and things like that, they're probably going to be similar. Maybe not the same, but they're going to be similar. There are going to be some similarities there. So I don't think it's wrong of these people that are in the UK to speak on American culture, because American culture is the standardized, is everywhere. Everybody is consuming American culture.
The trope online that people think Americans are always centering themselves in blackness and that we only own blackness, or we only own racism, we only own hardships. That's not the case. I think that due to lack of international media coverage in all countries and us understanding things that are occurring around the world up until now, we don't see racism and we don't see race through the same lens. And that is what's important to this greater conversation. We were enslaved for 246 years. After that time, we were legally separated, but under one of the worst apartheid regimes in the world up until 1954, which then we got civil rights, which then still wasn't civil rights. And this slew of things happen. We get killed every day, redlining, lynching, public mobs, the list goes on.
He said a lot there, and everything he's saying, I don't think is wrong. Okay, this guy makes a lot of sense. If you're in the UK, you might not have some of those ancestral traumas that a lot of black Americans have in this country. But we gotta realize that comparing traumas and things like that is very hard to compare trauma and then come to a common ground, because I think everybody have a different experience, and to separate black people because of the amount of trauma that a certain part or group has had, it just doesn't sit right with me, right? Because we all remember the Middle Passage. We all remember what black people had to go through sitting on those ships, the treatments that everybody went through. If you were in the Caribbean, right? If you had family members, if you're in Africa, you have family members that were shipped on those boats to be slaves, you all went through some level of trauma. There are white people who were slaves. Look at the Mayans, the trauma that they went through. Everybody went through trauma. Things happen to people, and this is not to discredit anything or bring anything down, but for the facts are, we in the United States right now aren't experiencing that. Yeah, there might be some cultural DNA thing that lasts with some people, but we are not slaves. We're all free people. We're all in the modern world. And when you go back to the past as a means to disconnect people, that's when you start to get into this nationalism problem. It would be an issue if other people do it, but you get to do it. You see, like, it doesn't make sense, because I don't like nationalism. And that is what this is all pointing to. It's pointing to, hey, we have this collective trauma, so you can't relate to us.
The sheer violence and gruesomeness that we endured in this country up until 50, 60 years ago shapes the very fabric of the type of racism that we experience. So let me put it to you like this. For 246 years, we were property. We were lynched. We were hung from trees while they had picnics.
The struggles that black people went through in the United States cannot be understated. That was horrible. But I don't think taking it far enough to separate yourself from other black people is fair or even good for us, because I think, from just speaking on the side now of the black Americans, right, I think what is good for black Americans and people who were slaves here is to really try to understand your people, try to connect with your African bonds, people in the motherland, bro, your culture. Try to connect with that instead of finding ways to separate yourself from that. Because you came here and suffer, it doesn't mean that, oh, those people there can't relate to your pain. People went through shit. Just because it wasn't documented, like, you don't know everything that happened in Africa. Not everything is documented like it was in the US. And some of the shit in the US wasn't even documented. We just know more about yours because, we got to be honest, African Americans talk about it every single day. Is their identity. Their pain, their struggles have become their identity. You identify with pain so much, and you're using it to the point where you're separating yourself from your own people. It doesn't matter if you're African American or Caribbean or European black, you're all black, you all have a shared struggle. And I don't even like the idea of coming together just based on color, but like I think that is the simplest way we can look at this. You're all black people. Where are we in this struggle, guys? And I'm gonna take a step back and see the European perspective and see what they might actually have wrong when talking to black Americans, right? Because they do have their issues here as well.
I keep having clips from podcasts come up on my TikTok of like black creators that are UK based, not understanding why American people just say that they're black. Like, oh, they say they're black American. They don't say, like, if you come to the UK, they say that they're from Jamaica. They say that they're from the Caribbean. They say that they're from Africa. Did we not all have the same education? Just depends where your boat went. Does it not? Like, yes, I know that my heritage is Barbados, St. Kitts, Antigua. Do I know before that? No.
Also, why does it matter? Why are we comparing the ability to know your heritage to the level of human that you are? Who the hell cares? Please tell me in the comments right now. Who the hell actually cares that knowing your heritage, right, somehow makes you a better human? Like, nobody have control over that. Your ancestors did. But you can even say they didn't. They didn't write it down. They didn't have a chance to. They were probably slaves. They were being shipped everywhere around the world. Why are you using that to go to hate on your people? And you see why black Americans are coming to the European Americans and calling them out on this, because it's completely dumb and stupid to use that argument to put other people down.
That's the same as them. Their ancestors just went straight to America. We just happened to go to the Caribbean where there was a lot of us. I don't know what's so hard about that. Like, I've had this discussion with people I know in real life as well. And they're like, yeah, but it's just weird, like, that they don't know where they're from. We don't know where we're from. We just know that we're from where a lot of black people went for slavery. I don't know where I'm from in Africa. And that's where we all originally came from. Just depends what boat you got on. 2025, that needs to be a mute subject. Because just leave it alone.
That needs to be a mute subject. Whatever she said, I think that is the best way to put it. I think at this point of this video, you're coming to understand how stupid this discourse is. But when we don't address these issues, it can become a bigger issue because other people are seeing this. Other races of people are seeing this and say, oh my God, this is just a black thing. They're always trying to form this tribal relations about themselves. And if they say that, they won't be wrong. Because what's happening right now is the definition of tribalism and how it always leads to conflict, how it always leads to division. Why are we always doing this to ourselves as black people? Tribalism is the reason why black people got colonized in Africa. Not knowing how to work together and create things to make our continent the greatest continent in the world. We had all the wealth. We couldn't do that because of tribalism. And we're doing the same thing. Given all the freedom we've had, we're using our past struggles, our tribal struggles, collective struggles, to separate us from us as a whole. Guys, this is the most unproductive thing you can do as a community of people. I think there are two ways to look at the goal of this divide between the European blacks and the American blacks. I think this debate is being had to really understand the lived experiences between the two sides, right? How colonization, slavery, and systematic racism played out different in each place, right? How it happened in the US versus how it happened around the world has really been the key understanding of this debate that is happening. Also, I think we're having this conversation really to unpack the identity formula, especially people like me, like first gen African, people who are coming from Africa. Like, how do you fit in? How do you do this? All of these things, right? Like, they do need to be talked about. And I think that's the benefit of having this conversation. It's not all bad to come out and try to challenge people within your own diaspora. Big word, I know. But that is the positive of this. And that's the goal we're kind of striving for. But we're not doing it in the right way. We're doing it in a way where we're name calling people.
Get out the UK with everything that's going on right now. This is the perfect time to leave. There's so much of the world to explore and experience.
And this is why I do not believe in all that, oh, all black people should come together. This, if you African, if you Caribbean, if you black American, we should all come together. I don't believe in none of that shit. And I'm gonna tell you why. First of all, I'm a true believer in tribalism. This man is a prime example of how Black people overseas do not get along with each other. That man is Black British if you could not tell. And if you're Black British, that means you're either from Africa or the Caribbean. The one thing that Black British people taught me was that, oh wow, y'all are from countries where everybody looks the exact same. Everybody's Black. Everybody got the same features, but y'all cannot stand each other. Y'all rob each other. Y'all kill each other. Y'all own governments don't even protect y'all. Y'all literally are the prime example and the true originators of black on black crime.
Lots of ignorancy to clear up there. People aren't just going to these countries because they hate their black situation in their black country. And also, not everyone in the UK is either African or from the Caribbean. There are black people from America that went to the UK. Okay, there are black people from America that went to other countries, other places to live there, and they're actually enjoying their time there. It doesn't mean that they hate living with the people that they grew up with in America. It doesn't mean that they hate black American. That's why they're going there. Maybe they just like to be there.
Y'all hate each other so much that y'all can't even stand to live near each other, which is why y'all get up and leave those countries where y'all are from, because you cannot trust each other. I mean, y'all governments are ran by people who look like you, and you can't even trust them to do you right. But y'all can get up and move to your oppressor's land and trust them to do you better. It tells me everything I need to know.
This person is a black American living in his oppressor's land, basically. He was brought here. He got enslaved here. The oppressors garnered a lot of wealth off of his free labor, and he stayed in this country. And now he's using the fact that he stayed in this country and doesn't know his heritage to bully other people who leave their country because they want better situations. And they're saying they're going to their oppressor's land. That means they're dumb because they don't like the people in their country. Like, this is just stupid. All right, this is the discourse that's happening. This is the misinformation that's out there, and I do hope that this video kind of helped shed a light on the issues that we're having in the black community, in the world as a whole, and why tribalism could be the downfall of any movement, any hint of positivity that could be in the world. Tribalism will ultimately destroy that. I hope you see that today. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Without further ado, bro, peace out. Bye bye. Mwah. Love y'all.